The mind is the only territory you truly own. Here is something most people never accept until life forces them to. You do not control the weather, the traffic, other people's opinions, or the outcome of tomorrow. What you control is the small, sacred space between what happens and how you respond to it. Most people spend their entire lives fighting battles outside this territory, arguing with strangers online, replaying an insult from 3 years ago, dreading a meeting that hasn't happened yet. This is exhausting, and it is optional. The moment you draw a hard line around what is actually yours, your judgments, your effort, your character, everything outside that line loses its grip on you. Not because you stopped caring about life, but because you stopped confusing caring with controlling. A rejection letter, a rude comment, a sudden loss. These are events. They are neutral until your mind assigns them meaning. This is shocking to hear the first time. Nothing has ever actually hurt you. Your interpretation of it hurt you. Train yourself to ask, before reacting to anything, is this within my control? If not, release it like sand through fingers. If yes, act calmly, decisively, without drama. This single mental habit, practiced daily, is the foundation every unshakable person is built on. Everything else on this list is simply this idea, applied differently. Every reaction you've ever had was a choice disguised as an instinct. You believe your anger is automatic, your anxiety unavoidable, your offense justified. This is the biggest lie the untrained mind tells itself. Between the event and your emotional explosion, there is a gap, a space of microseconds where a judgment forms. Most people never notice this gap exists, so they live as if every insult, delay, or disappointment has a wire running straight into their nervous system. It does not. What actually happens is this. Something occurs, and your mind instantly narrates a story about it. This is unfair. This person disrespects me. This ruins everything. And it is the story, not the event, that produces the feeling. Here is the unbothered person's secret. They catch the story before it finishes writing itself. They pause, even for half a second, and ask, is this true, or is this just my first assumption? This pause is a muscle. It weakens from neglect and strengthens from use. Practice it in small moments. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a message goes unanswered, a plan collapses. Each time, notice the story forming and choose not to finish reading it. Over weeks, this becomes instinctive, not suppression, but genuine calm, because you're no longer being ambushed by your own unexamined thinking. You are, for the first time, actually driving. Rehearse disaster before it arrives and it loses its weapon. Most people avoid thinking about what could go wrong, believing this protects them. It does the opposite. It leaves them defenseless the moment reality doesn't cooperate with their fantasy. There is an old, deeply uncomfortable practice. Each morning, briefly imagine the worst reasonable version of your day, the colleague who criticizes you unfairly, the plan that falls apart, the people who disappoint you. Not to become pessimistic, but to strip these events of their shock value in advance. A person who has already imagined betrayal is not shattered by it. They nod, almost expecting it, and move forward. A person who never considered loss is destroyed the moment it arrives, because their mind had built a fantasy of permanent safety that reality was never obligated to honor. This is uncomfortable to hear, but it is liberating. Nothing is promised to you. Not your health, your relationships, your position, or your next breath. Once you genuinely accept this, gratitude replaces entitlement, and calm replaces fragile hope. This is not anxiety. Anxiety is an unfocused fear of the unknown. This is precision, naming specific possible hardships and mentally rehearsing your response to them. When hardship visits, and it will not ask, "Why me?" because you already answered that question in advance. Alone, at dawn, with total honesty. other people's behavior is a mirror of them, never a verdict on you. When someone insults you, betrays you, or judges you unfairly, the instinct is to absorb it as truth. This is where most people lose years of peace. Consider this carefully. Every harsh word a person speaks is manufactured entirely inside their own mind, shaped by their pain, their fears, their limitations, none of which belong to you. You are simply the surface it landed on. A person who is at peace does not need to insult anyone. A person who insults freely reveals exactly how much turmoil lives inside them. This is not an excuse for cruelty, and it does not mean you tolerate mistreatment. It means you stop mistaking someone else's dysfunction for a diagnosis of your worth. The unbothered mind hears criticism and asks two questions only. Is there truth in this I can use? And does this reflect them more than me? If there's truth, extract the lesson and discard the delivery. If there isn't, let it pass through you like wind through an open window, felt for a moment, gone the next. This single shift, once mastered, makes you almost impossible to provoke, because you've stopped handing strangers the pen to write your self-worth. That pen was always yours. Most people simply forgot they were holding it. The present moment is the only place suffering cannot follow you. Notice something strange. Almost all anxiety lives in the future, and almost all resentment lives in the past. The present moment, examined honestly, is almost always bearable, often even peaceful. It is your mind's habit of time-traveling into imagined catastrophes or replayed wounds that manufactures suffering where none currently exists. This very second, right now, are you actually in danger? Are you actually being harmed? Usually the answer is no. You are simply thinking about danger or harm, and your body is reacting to the thought as though it were real. This is a profound and almost shocking realization once it lands. You have survived 100% of your worst days, yet your mind insists on rehearsing catastrophes that haven't happened and grieving moments that already ended. Training yourself to return, again and again, to what is actually true right now strips negativity of its favorite weapon, time. Do this simply. When overwhelmed, name 5 things you can physically perceive right now. This yanks the mind out of imagined timelines and plants it back in reality, where things are almost always more manageable than the mind's dramatized version. This is not a trick. It is the constant, disciplined return to now, the only moment you have ever actually lived in. Every obstacle contains the exact material needed to strengthen you. Here is the final, most uncomfortable truth. The very things you're praying to avoid, delay, criticism, failure, loss, are not obstacles to the life you want. They are the raw material of it. Fire doesn't destroy iron, it forges it. A person who has never faced hardship remains soft, untested, easily shattered by the first real storm. The obstacle you resent right now, the difficult person, the setback, the closed door, is quietly building a version of you that cannot be broken by smaller things later. This reframe is not motivational decoration. It is a survival mechanism disguised as philosophy. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the unshakable mind asks, "What does this force me to become?" Every delay teaches patience no comfort ever could. Every betrayal teaches discernment no friendship ever could. Every failure teaches resilience no success ever could. This doesn't mean you welcome suffering. It means you refuse to waste it. The obstacle and the path are disturbingly the same thing. Once this becomes real to you, negativity loses its final weapon, the illusion that hardship is meaningless. Nothing that builds you is meaningless. From this point forward, difficulty stops being your enemy and quietly becomes your training ground. Become unbothered. Train your mind to ignore negativity. 7 Stoic habits that make you unshakable. What if the thing torturing you right now, the insult, the rejection, the sleepless replaying of someone's words, has no power of its own. What if it never did? What if the sting you feel is not being inflicted on you from outside, but manufactured, quietly, inside your own mind and handed back to you as if it were fact? Sit with that for a moment, because it changes everything. You do not control the words people speak about you. You do not control the traffic, the diagnosis, the betrayal, the sudden storm that ruins the plan you built for months. But you were given something far more valuable than control over these things. You were given control over the space between the event and your response to it. Most people never find this space. They live their entire lives reacting, flinching, absorbing every insult as truth, every setback as catastrophe, every unkind word as a verdict on their worth. And so they spend decades bothered by things that were never theirs to carry. The first habit of the unshakable mind is simple and brutal in its honesty. Separate what is yours from what is not. Your judgments are yours. Your effort is yours. Your character is yours. The opinions of strangers, the actions of others, the outcome of tomorrow, none of it belongs to you. Release your grip on what was never yours to hold, and watch how much lighter you become. The second habit is this: notice the story before you believe it. Between what happens and how you feel, there is a judgment, a narrative your mind writes in an instant. Someone is late, and your mind whispers, "They don't respect me." Someone is silent, and your mind insists, "Something is wrong." Catch that story mid-sentence. Ask if it is true or merely the first fearful guess your mind reached for. This pause, practiced daily, becomes the difference between a life led by impulse and a life led by choice. The third habit will feel uncomfortable, and it should. Rehearse loss before it arrives. Imagine, without flinching, that what you love could be taken: your health, your position, the people beside you. Not to live in fear, but to strip fear of its element of surprise. Nothing was ever promised to you. Once you accept this fully, gratitude replaces entitlement, and no small disappointment can shatter what you never assumed was guaranteed. The fourth habit protects you from the sharpest weapon others carry: their words. When someone insults you, remember, their cruelty was manufactured entirely within them, shaped by wounds that have nothing to do with you. You are only the surface it landed on. Take the truth if there is any, and let the rest pass through you like wind through an open door. The fifth habit anchors you where suffering cannot follow: the present. Nearly all your anxiety lives in a future that has not arrived. Nearly all your resentment lives in a past that has already ended. But right now, in this exact second, ask yourself honestly, are you actually in danger? Usually, you are not. You are only imagining danger, and your body is answering a thought as though it were real. Return to now, again and again, and negativity loses the only ground it ever stood on. The sixth habit demands courage. See the obstacle as the material, not the enemy. Every delay is quietly building your patience. Every betrayal is quietly sharpening your discernment. Every failure is quietly forging a strength no comfort could have given you. What is standing in your way is not blocking your path, it is becoming your path. And the seventh habit, the one that holds all the others together: act well regardless of outcome. You do not control whether you're understood, rewarded, or even remembered. You only control whether you showed up with integrity today. Do that fully, without needing applause for it, and no outcome, good or bad, will ever be able to shake what you've built inside yourself. None of this makes you cold. None of this makes you numb.